Hey folks, Mix RPD back with you again. We're going to check out another song here. We've got, let's pull them up. We've got Sam's Raps here featured on the D Money song Self-Respect. So this album just came out. It's a great album. I mixed it and mastered it. Lovely stuff. Check them out. Check them both out. Okay, so I may have named this in an inflammatory fashion, this video. But all love to all parties involved. But you know, sometimes you're stuck in a situation that's not the greatest for recording, right? We're not, you know, all blessed with great home studios or professional studios. Sometimes we're just stuck in a basement with a wall right beside us, right? So let's get into this. Let's play this track down a little bit. So we got the hook coming up first here. So this is D coming up first.
No matter what you do, cruise to higher altitudes, soar amongst the stars with confidence and attitude.
Sam's.
No matter what you do, you got something left to prove. So what you got to lose, just shoot.
Okay, so that's our hook. Sounds lovely. But it was this first verse here that I thought had some pretty big issues just on the recording side. So we're going to take a look at this specifically here. Let's give it a listen in context.
Lose, just shoot. I'm up early writing tunes, it's a new day. About to ask the Blue Jay how today's do taste. He said you gotta savor it, take it at a cool pace. Otherwise it's like juice straight after the toothpaste. I know you...
Okay, so we'll have a listen as we go here, but the sound I think I was kind of going for is like not too hyped up on the high end. I wanted him to sound a little bit dark, but big, and not too bright on the high end, right? Because you know, it sort of kills the authenticity if they're a little too, like, you know, poppy sounding or something like that. So the issue, what we can do here is we can listen to how the verse actually came in. Let's listen to the original file here. Here we go. So I may have turned it down just like a little bit, but yeah.
I'm up early writing tunes, it's a new day. About to ask the Blue Jay how today's do taste. He said you gotta savor it, take it at a cool pace. Otherwise it's like juice straight after the toothpaste. I know you want...
Okay, so what do I hear? I hear a lot of, you know, low, sort of that sort of plosive stuff on the low end, on the P's in particular. But it's like there's like a nasty, it's hard to identify it as room reverb because it's so close, right? But I've seen Sam's recording setup and he has a wall like very close right beside him. And so I think what's happening to my ear is there's a reflection coming off that wall back into the side of the microphone, and it's getting colored and it's all nasty, and it's causing what they call comb filtering. So that's not, it's a fancy term that basically just means that, you know, the reflection is so close in time that it's causing cancellation in frequencies with the vocal going straight into the microphone. And it's called comb filtering because it's basically like if you took a comb sort of thing to the audio and it just slices out frequencies here and there. And it just makes everything sound cheap usually. It's because I think what I found with this was it just sounded thin and boomy at the same time, but also harsh. So it's just like a lot of stuff you didn't want. So let's get back into the track and we'll see what we did with this. So first off here, we just have a bit of EQ. So we can identify, so I think if I solo this band, you can hear how boomy this frequency is.
Lose, just shoot. Early writing tunes, it's a new day. How today's do taste. He said you gotta savor it, take it. You wanna rush it.
He sounds like he's trapped in a bottle or something like that. So we're trying to control this frequency dynamically, and up here this is more of like the harsh. This is where the energy is living in the vocal, but it's also very harsh to the ear, right?
I know you wanna rush it, but it takes time. You gotta grind if you wanna get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the break light.
It's very aggressive on the ear, so we're just trying to cool that off in a similar fashion and just roll off the low unnecessary mud.
A face mine. These stay.
Right? That's all your P's and all that stuff down there. You don't need that. But also, as I mentioned, the vocals seem to be also thin at the same time. It seems contradictory, but there we were. I wanted to hear more body on his voice, so I got the R bass in here. I think, here, let's put it back in context here. And I think if I bypass this, you'll notice how thin his voice gets.
Take it at a cool pace, otherwise it's like juice straight after the toothpaste. I know you wanna rush it, but it takes time.
That's crazy, right? Like he sounds like he's holding his nose now without that plug-in on. So yeah, that's adding, what is we at here? About 133 hertz. So that's adding in some fullness in a different way than EQ would. And then this is some more dynamic EQ to try to control that harshness in the voice. A bit of a squeeze here, compression. And then I went for an 1176, which I'm often doing on hip hop vocals, for some compression here. But I chose this particular version for a little bit less distortion than the Rev A that I often use.
It takes time, you gotta grind if you wanna get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the brake lights. They staying high to ease the pain, I'm trying to face mine. These state lines disappearing over.
So it sounds like he's kind of coming from his chest a little bit more with that compressor on. And then we've got a whole whack load of EQ here. So this looks insane, right? But here, check this out. If we bypass this, I'm just gonna bypass it now and play it. Let's check it out.
Disappearing over FaceTime. Wish I could speed it up. You can't evade time. You know by now life's a race to a fake line. To win it is to live it, finish, and you'll see why. All the rest is folk pause and folk songs. Act now, I spoke wrong, bomb the whole test. I'm not the one.
I think you can almost hear it better in solo that he gets very muddy, because we're sort of emphasizing. Let's see if we can find the top band here where his vocals really living.
I'm not the one sat down, I fucking called next. The quest not to be flawless, just flawless.
I mean, when I soloed that, you could barely hear any difference. So yeah, and then we're trying to control some more mud down here.
Want to get a break, right? To see the pain, I'm trying to face
that sounds like distorted and completely incoherent, right? So that's we were up around 200 hertz on the previous one, more narrow, but this is more wide, down around 130, 140 hertz. So yeah, a lot going on there, but that's the basic deal, is trying to control some of the mud and trying to bring out where the vocal's living on the top end. And the R bass back here is providing the body and the voice. Okay, so we move on. We got the Pultec EQ here, the Waves one, not the UAD one. They sound different. And we're just boosting up some 16 kilohertz here, wideband. But yeah, let's try to bypass this.
It's a new day, about to ask the Blue Jay how today's do taste. He said you gotta savor it, take it at a cool pace. Otherwise it's like juice straight after the toothpaste. I know you wanna rush it, but it takes time. You gotta grind if you wanna get a break, right?
I think in solo, again, you can hear better that it's also adding some color as well as the high end. And then we've got some, I feel like there's some distortion inherent in this recording anyways. And so, yeah, I feel like I was going for, I mean, Sam's is a good boy. He would never go to jail. But yeah, I feel like I was going for sort of like he's recording, from the jail cell, giving advice, that sort of a feel to it or whatever, right? So we're adding a bit of distortion here that I feel is more pleasing.
Get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the brake lights. They staying high to ease the pain, I'm trying to face mine. These state lines disappearing over FaceTime. Wish I could speed it up, you can't evade.
I think what it does for me is it just makes the sort of broken up feel a little bit more consistent, rather than it just, because I think maybe he was hitting this preamp a little bit too hard or something like that, if I had to guess. So yeah, that just sort of makes the sound more intentional for me. And then we have this API EQ here where I'm giving a bit of a couple clicks of 5 kilohertz and also one click of 200. So with all the control before, this is kind of just to color it and make up. So we got a bit of the bottom end of the voice and a bit of the presence top end of the voice. So let's hear with this off.
You can't evade time. You know by now life's a race to a fake line. To win it is to live it, finish, and you'll see why. All the rest is folk pause and folk songs. Act.
Yeah, let's hear it in solo. I mean, for me, he gets very small without this EQ.
Folk songs. Act now, I spoke wrong, bombed the whole test. I'm not the one sat down, I fucking called next. The quest not to be flawless, just flawless.
Again, he feels like he's, you know, really spinning from his chest a lot more with that on, whereas he sounds kind of small with the EQ off again. Everything's contextual, right? So yeah, and then and then we got him going off to the bus here. Oh well, let's look at well, here we got a little bit more EQ on the end of this chain here, just again trying to cool off that sort of mid range and bring out a little bit of body where we can, where it's more pleasing. And we've got some effects here, so let's take a look at some effects. So we've got my underscore reverb, which is technically a delay. You can listen to this. Right, you can see it's on the verb setting here. You can turn it up a little. Okay. So that's just giving some space around the vocal, but it's very short space and it's very narrow in, right? I have it left 10 and right 10. So it's closely hugging around the vocal in the center. And then we have the EMT 250. Oh, he's over here on this screen. The EMT 250 reverb impulse response here.
You gotta grind if you want to get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the break light.
So, yeah, for me, that's more like he's in the sewer or something like that, but it's wider, right? He seems a little further away, but it's still not a super long one. And it looks like there's some EQ on that as well. Oh yeah, I'm rolling off the top end here, so we're keeping it darker.
And how to ease the pain. I'm trying to face mine. These state lines disappearing over face.
So if we bypass this EQ, ooh yeah, that's nasty, right? It gets all splashy. We don't want that. So what else we got here? We got this 16th delay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, and so these
pace, otherwise it's like juice straight after the two.
Excuse me. So these so we also have right after that a short reverb. Bring them over. A short reverb here, 0.4 seconds. So we're not really going for much in the way of like a long noticeable reverb here. We're just trying to put them in like a local space sort of thing. But what's happening is this delay is actually feeding into the reverb as well. So the vocal is going to the reverb. It's also going to the delay. But then after the vocal goes to the delay itself is being fed into the reverb. A little bit complicated, but yeah. So that's why when you hear one here, you kind of hear the other.
Straight after the toothpaste. I know you want to rush it, but it takes time. You gotta grind if you want to get a break.
So basically it's taking the echo sound and putting reverb on it. You can think of it that way. Yeah, so let's move on now to the Sam's bus here. So we're doing yet again more. I think I've talked about this concept before where it's like, you know, you don't, just because you do something once, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to do that again, you know, 2 or 3 times maybe in the course of the processing chain, or even, you know, at some point maybe do something like the opposite. So yeah, we're just continuing because that frequency was a problem right from the beginning. It's like that's where the energy of the vocal was living, but it was very harsh on the ear. So it's just a lot of moves to try to cool it off. Yeah, that's all that's going on there. And then we're coming into the MJUC compressor here. I've shown this many times. A little bit of high passing after that, just because those P's on the low end were starting to come up again. And it just sounds unprofessional with that kind of thing in the vocal. It'll kill you. And it'll also gets in the way of the kick and the bass and all that stuff. A little bit of RVox here, compression. So that's going to give a little bit more body on the voice as well. the Pultec EQ here, boosting about a 10 kilohertz this time, but this is the UAD Pultec. So that'll probably be giving some weight as well to the voice.
If you wanna get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the brake lights. They staying high to ease the pain. I'm trying to face mine. These state lines.
Yeah, again, he gets very small when you turn it off. So it's just a series of moves. Soothe again, but this time I think it's with we had the fast release before, and this time we're on the on more of a like a medium slow release. Oops. Okay, so we'll keep going here. We have the tube tack, and I'm probably hitting this one a little harder than normal. Usually I just use this one to keep everything in check, but let's have a listen.
These state lines disappearing over FaceTime. Wish I could speed it up. You can't evade time. You know by now life's a race to a fake line. To win it is to live it, finish, and you'll see why. All the rest is folk pause and folk songs.
Yeah, so he gets, you can see I have it on the fixed setting here. So these attack and release settings are irrelevant. It's a fixed attack and release. And I like the way, the action of the timing of the compressor here. We're getting 2 or 3 dB of gain reduction and not doing really any output makeup gain here to turn it up afterwards. So you're really hearing, when I turn the compressor off, he sort of is just constantly screaming over the track. More like of a live feel, I guess you could say. But I like the timing that we're getting here. Check it out.
Take it at a cool pace, otherwise it's like juice straight after the toothpaste. I know you wanna rush it, but it takes time. You gotta grind if you wanna get a break, right? To see the green, you can't worry about the brake lights. They staying high to ease the pain. I'm trying to face mine.
Right? It kind of sinks him in a cool, interesting way. So he's not just blaring over the track, but the action of the compressor, the timing of it is interesting. The way it interacts with the track, right? I like it. So that's what's going on there, using that one in a little bit of a different way than I normally might. And then there's just a little bit of a limiter here on the end just to catch some peaks.
Face mine. These state lines disappearing over FaceTime. Wish I could speed it up. You can't evade time. You know by now.
All right, so the limiter's getting turned down on the output as well, so it's just a safety just to catch some of those peaks before it heads off to the master. And then we have a little bit of EQ just on the end here, just shelving down the low end just slightly. I said just too many times, but we're gonna go with it. And then what else do we have? We have just 2 other things here. We have the lead vocal parallel chain, which I've shown before. It's my usual one. I'm not gonna show it again. You can check it out in some of the other videos just to save time. But that's in there. You can see there's all kinds of automation going on here on the parallel chain, on the vocal volume levels, on some of the reverbs and effects, on the overall, just on everything basically. A lot of automation just to keep everything where it's supposed to be at any given time in the song. And then the other thing here is, that's just the 16th delay again, I think. So yeah, we've already covered that one. That's being sent from there instead of from the normal track, or from the regular track. So that's kind of what we did there. I think it works pretty well. We went for a certain sound of like I say, that sort of like on the phone kind of, slightly distorted, I don't want to say lo-fi thing, but yeah, it's certainly not blaring over the track. It's got some reverb and whatnot for nostalgia. But it's an example of, if we go back and we listen to Sam's hook here.
You got something left to prove, so what you got to lose, just shoot.
I feel like I had a lot less trouble with this, and the recording, for whatever reason, came in better.
No matter what you do, you got something left to prove, so what you got to lose, just shoot. I'm up early writing tunes, it's a new day, about to ask the Blue Jay how today's...
So yeah, I mean, but we get a lot of contrast with the different vocals, the two different vocalists, and the different recordings, and the way I've treated. I could do a whole other video, I suppose, on how I've treated the two chorus vocals here, and maybe Dee's verse. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up for now. Keep it a little shorter. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully Sam isn't mad at me for for making fun of his recording setup or anything like that. He knows we're just trying to help. So yeah, have a good day. Happy mixing, happy recording. Make some good music. I love you.